Easy, how are we?
Shawnee, you're a liar.
I'm a liar on a lot of things, Eric. I mean, you're going to have to narrow it down just a little bit more for me exactly what you're talking about right now.
You said new year, new you. I'm looking at the same fucker I was looking at last year.
Hey,
Last 5 years.
one, the beard's a little trimmed. Two, I actually see how old I am, the chin
You're
right now, all the grey hairs.
You're like
I'm
a
the
Labrador
same.
with a grey beard around it.
Oh, stop. And even the 5K yesterday, Eric, and I'm an old man. I was like, 5K, grand, ease in. I'm getting my story out of the way right now because if I say my story after your story, I'm going to feel very tone deaf on it. But I got me 5K in. I was okay time. There was one of the guys who's doing the Barcelona Marathon, Will Scottle. He was like, I'm going for sub 23. I'm like, I get around 22. And he kept up with me for 4K. And after that, he just like went straight on past me. And I did the old little smile, little tap out. I'm like, he has me. He has me. But I felt okay, 22, no injuries, or so I thought. I came home, had to do a lot of farm work around the house, and then the lower back just went, not today, pal. Seized up after a 5K, Eric. I spent half the day lying on my back, feet up on the couch, back on the ground.
Same old you, huh? New year,
Same
new
old
you.
me. I'm a liar. I do a running podcast, and I can't run 5K right now. But it pales in comparison to how your Tom Brennan 5K went on New Year's Day.
Well, I think, like, to give myself credit, we went out to Lusk and did a 5K out there over Christmas.
That's right.
And that was, so I proved I could win a run.
You can't say win, Ark. Your better half beat you. Monroe carried you through the finishing line. I heard up in Lusk. What happened up there?
Yeah, but it was great to go out. I brought a few good athletes with me and put Any Given Run Day t-shirts on them, and they won the race. It was a turkey trot, and it was an excuse for the club to meet up, and we were delighted to be invited out to partake, and it was actually great. It was a really tough course, actually. There's a good few hills on it that put manners onto a few people, including myself. But it's it was really nice. So big shout out to them, and thanks for having me. And we hope that the new year, new me, when I do return, probably more full time in February, there will be more club visits. So if you're thinking you want to come down and punish me, I'll show up. So that's the way we're looking at it for the new year. But yeah, so I started. Do you know what? We talk about the resolutions and all. I've already failed.
Oh,
my first day, yeah. My first day.
Your very first day, day one was a 5K, Eric, a 5K building 10 weeks away from Barcelona Marathon. And
it's not like I said I'm going to run 5K every day for the year and all that. Like, and fair play to those who do. I've seen a couple of people completed that again last year, into today or into the first. Mine was just 15 minutes of exercise. 15 minutes. That's all I had to do, and stopped after 12 minutes. My first DNF. My first DNF. But no, look, it was a very different day, I suppose, for some people. And one individual, one man in particular, was having a very bad day. Just at the point when we were getting close to running past him, his heart stopped during the race, which we've run marathons, you see people collapse. You can kind of assume, the heat got them, they ran out of energy. In a 5K, it tends to be something a little bit more sinister and serious, and which it was. I suppose for this man, his day probably got worse when I showed up to help. It was an interesting morning, to say the least. But I do want to say, like, it's without touching on this. Yeah, no, look, I'm quite privileged to have a career in the Air Corps, and part of that career I was part of Air Corps 112, which is the Emergency Air Medical Service. It's based in Athlone. Guys and gals who are down there every day, 365. We are on duty. We fly out to people who are having their worst day. I am privileged to have worked with some of the best pre-hospital care people in the country, in the world, and families and bystanders who are doing their very best to help someone on their worst day. And now we were in the Phoenix Park on what was someone else's worst day. And I had to say, he is a very lucky guy, because working with so many people over the couple of years as part of the service, this man happened to have some of the best people in the country who decided to do a 5K that morning. It was absolutely amazing. So, and everyone thinks it's the medical practitioners, and those who come in and they are heroes, 100%. But there are so many people who are involved in trying to save somebody's life, and I have to give a shout out. And forgive me, I don't know names. In the end, I ended up getting a couple of names, but my head was up my arse, so I didn't remember many. But when you look at the first person, actually, I do remember one, Owen, who listens to the podcast, talking to me afterwards. He was one of the first to go and try and help this guy, and scream for help, and try and raise people's attention to what was going on, and that's really important, and time is of the essence. Myself and one other guy to initiate the CPR sequence, and there was a lady who then started to make the phone call to 999. There were people who went back to the admin tent to, try and get the ambulance that was on call, or the event ambulance. I could be wrong. I think it was civil defense. I didn't read the side of it. There was now, I'm a very small cog in this wheel, and another doctor who was coming along. Now, what felt like minutes was probably 30 seconds. And they were like, I'm a doctor, can I help us? Get in here.
Sort this
Get
out.
me out of here. There were nurses who were basic life support instructors. There were paramedics as part of civil defense, I think, who were actually running the race, saw their colleagues in the ambulance and stopped to help. As I said, the lady on phone, there was a guy who just put in a 5K best effort, probably did it in about 17 minutes. And I asked him to run back to the admin to find out this guy's name, had he any medical history, because the race number, and again, it highlights the importance of a race number, and filling out that form to let people know if you do have any medical history and stuff.
And you wouldn't take that for a 5K.
No,
because people, just pass the number of 5K, and here's a real life example of, oh shit, actually, that person's wrong and the wrong person's got different, and they have, I don't know, allergies like that. It's like, it's not my field or anything like that, but I'm sure there's issues if that's the wrong person you've got the number of that could cause serious complications.
Yeah, and it gave what these people, heroes, information. It gave them more information on the age, history. It gave them a little bit of hope that he's a relatively young man, and it's and all of those factors play in. And I have to say, it was amazing. And in the end, and it highlights the importance of awareness and knowing what's around. The defibrillator that came out of the back of the ambulance was essentially what saved this man's life, so, and the people keeping him going until that arrived, it's so important. But I have to say that it could have been a very different day, but whatever stars aligned, some of the best people in this country showed up for this man, and it was amazing to watch them work again, and they did their very best. And luckily, I have received a message that he is doing really well, and he is making a recovery. And as we record, this will go out in a couple of days, but I believe he is doing quite well. He did make it into the back of the ambulance when we left him anyway. And at that point, I had the decision, do I finish this 5K? Or do we just walk off? So yeah, I walked off. But yeah, it was an interesting day, and it just shows how fickle it can be in sport. But a huge well done to those who did. And I think I've covered a lot of people who are involved, and if I have forgot you, you played a blinder. An absolute blinder. And it doesn't have to be, we've already mentioned maybe 10 people who operated in the 10 minutes. Then the paramedics from Dublin Fire Brigade and the National Ambulance Service came out, and there's another 10 people involved. And then they bring them to the hospital, and then there's another 10, so no one is, everybody has a part to play. The race organisers who give the net, and it's the fact that everyone was so willing and able to do something to try and help this man, I think saved his life. And having some of the best people, really top operators show up for him in a matter of minutes was absolutely brilliant. So well done to all involved. If you are, and the weird part, John, this is the one that got me. So I'm walking back, and then some people who were there, like these heroes, were like, geez, love the podcast. I listen to everyone. I was like, it caught me so off guard. It was bizarre, because you've said it to me. I've been away for a while, and I'm moving home fully. And this was like, the first time it's really happened. I've had people say hello and stuff, but this was like, we just did that. And then after they do what they do on a daily basis, and man, that's why they don't get enough credit. Like when you see them doing what they do best, they're masters of their craft. And then they turn around, like, dust the hands and be like, geez, love the podcast. So it was very good. Now, they were all very surprised that I checked for his wallet before his pulse. Now, that was just habit. That was just habit.
But it could be wrong number. It could be wrong number on it. Of course, it's the name.
When I took the oxygen myself just to try it after running 2K, so I'm glad of the excuse. I'm glad of the excuse. I'm very happy we can say this in jest, because he is doing well. But I was very, very glad of the excuse to stop. I wasn't catching you, but that's for sure. But really nice 5K for the first lap, and I can speak for the second half because it was the same loop. And do you know what? I think it's one I definitely keep in the calendar.
It's a nice one.
A really, really nice one. It is a flat 5K, and do you know, when people looking at starting their year off, setting a benchmark and throwing down the hammer as such, but it was really, really nice 5K. And I got a hat in the end, even though I did not finish. I got a hat. I actually walked. When I was going back, I walked across the timing chip. It registered me for a 39-minute 5K, so I'll take it. So technically, it's not a DNF.
You went the wrong way back to it. You didn't do 5K.
I'll probably get disqualified and banned now after going backwards. But when you have a time of 39 minutes, I don't think many people care.
No, absolutely not.
No, so it's but yeah, so it was a really, really enjoyable race, and great for me to see so many great people in someone's hour of need, and it kind of depicts the running community as well. You know, all these phenomenal people decided to go for a 5K on New Year's morning, and it made a difference. And a testament to those who are on duty today, tomorrow, and will be the day after, standing by, ready to try and help people. It is phenomenal, and sometimes it doesn't work. And luckily, this year was off to a good start that it did, and the right people were there to do it, and they were amazing, and well done to them. If you are listening and you're one of those people who were thinking, is that the guy from the podcast while you're doing CPR? Send us a message. We'll send you out a well done t-shirt, maybe a hat, keep you warm. But as a small gesture we can do for being absolutely amazing people, and what everything that is good about the sport and the country, it's really, really was amazing. And from ourselves and everyone who's listening to this, thinking of that guy, we are. And if you happen to be a listener of the podcast, we do wish you the very best of recoveries. We hope everything works out okay for you, and let's hope we see you for another run one of these days.
Absolutely. My back was very sore afterwards, Eric.
Yeah.
I couldn't feel my fingers. I'm glad I didn't kick into my story after that one. Jesus H.
I didn't let it deter me that I broke my New Year's resolution. I went and ate a breakfast roll.
Was that your main?
Super Value in Luke, and it was filled with everything.
I couldn't get out of the car at that stage. Speaking of, there isn't a New Year's resolution you could have done, which in theory, because as we're recording the second, you still could do. Have you seen this going around Instagram where it's, now I did it for a couple of years ago. I did it leading up to 24th, but it gets a lot harder after that. So what it is 1K on day 1, 2K on day 2, 3K on day 3, 4K day 4, etc. So I know we get to 24th, it's 300K, but the problem is it's such a huge jump after that in terms of how, like, you'll probably do, I can't do the maths in my head, like 20K miles week 1, and then it jumps up to like 50 week 2, 80 or 100 week 3, and then like 150 or even more week 4, because you're going 24 one day, 25, 26, 27. It's insane. But a lot of people are doing it and metal stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend it because of the jump, and it sounds like it's going to be injury prone. Not like a talk right now, but in theory, if you were to change what you could do, you're still on track for that, and you could have a New Year's resolution right now, or you could change it to something else, Eric.
Nah, shove that one right up your. I'm not doing that. Hey, I'm not doing that. Sure, I'm going back to Mozambique in 2 days, where it's 37 degrees Celsius, 95% humidity. Like, I'd be lucky to get 10K. The treadmill for
treadmill for a couple of hours.
No. There's air conditioning where I'm going. That's just, it might as well be me going, just blowing myself. Pure muck. But it's no, I did go home and do 3 minutes of exercise. So my New Year's resolution is I pushed a hay bale and then did a little jog in the field, and that was it. That got me, got me across. I called it High Rock, Sean, and so that counts as exercise now. So it's no, yeah. I think I'm gonna try and stick with the 15 minutes of exercise
15.
a day. And the reason I did that, and I see a lot of people, they have this 75 hard, and we've done it and failed it.
You've done
taken it on. Yeah, I've done it. You let me fail, so you're part of it. No, it's. I think people get a little bit too ambitious, and the reason behind my 15 minutes is because it's very hard to motivate yourself to go out and do 24K. It's not so hard to motivate yourself to do 2K or to lift weights for 15 minutes or to do yoga for 15 minutes. And the likelihood is when you get to 15 minutes, you're going to go, nah, I'll do another 15 or I'll do another 10. So my goal is to go easy on myself and minimize. Oh, I did join, actually. I have another one. I joined Nace Triathlon Club.
Oh, and they have a subsection out in Mozambique.
They do now. They do now.
Oh, this sounds like someone's got a triathlon on the brain right now. No,
nothing. But it's an intention. So I joined, and again, there will be a session or two, and during the week that I'm going to put my name towards, and I'm going to go and do my 15 minutes there, and that's my goal for the year, is to every day find someone somewhere to get my 15 minutes of exercise with or at. And yeah, like that, if people out there in clubs are thinking, we'll give you a 15-minute session. Now, everyone's going to try and kill me, I think. But I'm happy to show up and do the best I can. So yeah, from mid-February, we'll be looking at that. But it is exciting. It is exciting to take on the year ahead. We've Barcelona Marathon now coming up in 10 weeks, which is going to scare a lot of people because I've seen all their Stravas. But they're all expecting us to save it with a 10-week marathon plan, which we will. But it's exciting. It is exciting. It's cold. I'm looking forward to getting back to the heat for a little bit. Otherwise, I can't complain. I can't complain that I'm overheating on the races, So
no, absolutely not.
So yeah, but it's an exciting year ahead, and with that exciting year ahead comes a lot of great guests, and this one is no different. We've got a good year ahead, and we are at the start of the year. So any ideas, people in your club's community who are your local heroes, who are people you admire, people that we need to talk to, please reach out through the website, anygivenrunday.com. There's a section there where you can give us the details of people you want us to talk to. And as we build into the year to continue to bring you fantastic front row seats to some of the nicest, best people, runners there are out there.
Absolutely. And, we talked in jest about those New Year's challenges and building the mileage every day. But this episode is full of practical sound advice for getting back into running, building up towards your goals. Really, really enjoyable. I think we've talked enough in this one, so we're going to go straight into this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. Let's go. Our next guest on the Any Given Run Day podcast, in his debut marathon in Dublin back in 2012, he became the Irish national champion. From there, he has qualified at every major athletics event, from 3 Commonwealth Games to 5 World Half Marathon Championships in a row, 2 World Championships, multiple European and cross-country championships. And yes, the man with a 2-hour, 10-minute marathon PB is also a 2-time Olympian. A founding member of the elite professional NN running team, he also has 10 plus years of experience coaching athletes globally, including founding and coaching Dream Run Dublin, a sub-3-hour project. Paul Pollock, welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. How are you getting on?
Hi guys, thanks very much for having me.
Paul,
pleasure to be here.
You don't know this, but Sean actually did a very good intro to you there. Every week, he has butchered the poor guest that's come on, and it really sets the tone. But I have to give credit where it's due. He actually did it so well. Paul, that is a phenomenal set of accolades. And when people hear that, they kind of get a bit afraid of how can you be that good, or how can you get there? But like every story, everyone starts somewhere. So for you, where did running start, and how did you get involved in the sport?
Yeah, it really started a long time ago now. So I'm 39, so definitely getting towards the end of my career. But it all started way back, pretty much when I think 16, 17 years old. And growing up, my dad always said you need a sport in your life. It kind of all the different sports, all the team sports, and badminton was a big one, tennis as well. And then eventually kind of was just sitting at home one day, all the sports had finished, and I was just getting fat, essentially, eating lots of food, not doing any exercise, just watching TV. And my brother was part of the Queen's University up in Belfast, and he would go to the running club there, and he said, right, there's a 5K race happening down in Monaghan, and some of the club were going down to it. And he said, listen, you're coming with me. I really didn't want to go, but Mum and Dad pretty much forced me and said, listen, you need to do something. So went down with him, and ended up, I think, around by 17:30 for that 5K, and won a junior prize, was the first junior home, and absolutely hated every moment of it. But clearly Mum and Dad and my brother said, actually, you've got some talent there. And pretty much since then, they've kind of dragged me up with him to his training and just pretty much copied him for the next few months. And as time went on, just grew to love it. And then, it obviously helps whenever you turn up for a race as a junior athlete and you're on the podium, you're winning things. It definitely helps kind of with the confidence boost. And you're like, actually, maybe I will keep this going and just see where it gets to. But I kind of made the Irish team quite soon after starting running. Went for Irish Eurocross, just kind of making up numbers more than anything else. And then, went to the Commonwealth Youth Games. I think it was the first ever Commonwealth Youth Games for Northern Ireland, and came fourth there in a 1500. And that was pretty much 3-4 weeks over in Australia as a training camp. And if you say that to a 17, 18-year-old, they're definitely going to focus a bit more and go, okay, maybe I will put my mind to this. But then I came back from there and kind of got injured. University took over and kind of took a big break from athletics for 4 or 5 years. And then decided after I graduated as a doctor in 2010 that actually I'll give this running another go. I always thought I could make the Olympics kind of in the back of my head. And so I hooked up with Andy Hobdell, one of the kind of professional running coaches back then, who had a group in England, and moved from Belfast over to London and said, let's see how far we can take this. And pretty much then from 2011, 2012 onwards was kind of training as a professional athlete. Yeah, here I am today.
Paul, can I just bring you back to those 17, 18, the junior Commonwealth? Because when young athletes, when you look at the Gaelic Games, they always think minor into senior. When you look at soccer, the ages of 15, 16 are times you start to get trials for clubs or the potential to be a professional. Did going to that junior Commonwealth Games enlighten? Because obviously we go from that first run that you absolutely hated. Was that a moment that you realised this is like, even in your youth, go, I could have a career in this, or this is me? Because we identify ourselves, particularly when we're sporting, by the sport we play. Did you become a runner at this stage?
No, I would say definitely not. In my head, it was just a hobby, a pastime, just another sport that I was kind of doing. And for me, anyway, I remember clearly. So my first coach was Bobby Ray, who was part of ABAC, his club based up in Belfast. Who kind of he was the coach for Queen's University and ABAC, so it was kind of the university club and the outside club. I remember clearly he was the one who coached me. He took me down to Dublin for the Eurocross trials at the time, and it was just me and him went down in the car, and I didn't really know much. I didn't know there was a European cross or you could do competitions really in athletics. I said, listen, I think you've got a chance of coming top 3, and if you come top 3, you'll get to go on holiday essentially to the European cross country that year. And I remember running around and I finished coming second. Exactly. That was it. It was as simple as that. And I came second in the race to a guy, Danny Darcy, who was the European champion, or I think maybe came second to Colin Costello at the time. But I kind of remember getting back to the car with Bobby, and he was just like, that'll do, kind of thing. And the whole drive up, it was just a chat about European cross and things. So in my head, I always, even from that early start, that was pretty much all 6 months of training. I would say. So I always knew that I was kind of had a bit of talent there, but it was never a thing that I thought you could have a career of or make a life out of. I just didn't even know it existed. Even in hindsight now, I'm sure it did exist, and there were people making money out of running and making a career out of running. But to me, it just wasn't. It was just a hobby, pastime, something else I was doing to fill the time that you do back in the school days.
When you obviously had a link in, then obviously with two clubs, Queen's, University of Belfast, was it an easy thing to go, listen, I'm qualifying for teams, I could possibly get a scholarship? Were scholarships a thing then? Did you go to university based on a running scholarship, or did you just go and maintain running? Obviously you mentioned an injury, which we can probably talk about as well, and picking yourself back up.
Hydration is key to fueling endurance performance.
Perform Nutrition's Electrolytes Plus sachets have been specifically designed to fill the need for advanced hydration for athletes.
With 1,000 milligrams sodium, all essential electrolytes, and 2,500 milligram performance blend made up of glutamine, taurine, and coconut water powder, one sachet will replenish and revitalize your hydration.
Using natural flavors, natural colors, no added sugar, and no added fillers, each sachet has a sweet and lightly salted fruity flavor and comes in either mixed berry or citrus.
Informed, sport tested, and trusted by Olympians such as Kate O'Connor, world champion boxer Aoife O'Rourke, and pro triathlete Nikki Bartlett, and many more elite athletes.
Trust Perform to fuel your excellence, and by listening to this advert, you are supporting Irish businesses and this podcast. Now let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, and I remember getting 2 letters from American universities about scholarships, and I think they were quite good universities, but in my head, I wanted to do medicine, and Queen's was just handier. Like, running was essentially a pastime.
It's just down the road.
It 20 minutes away from us. It was kind of like, in my head, it was like running is just a pastime. So it's kind of, I didn't really see going to America. I didn't really understand it, essentially. So no, it was definitely it was nice to be asked, and kind of the offer was there, but in my head it was never like a serious or realistic opportunity. And in hindsight, I kind of do wish that I definitely kept the running going, because it's always an unknown question of what would have happened if I kept the training up at that stage. But equally, you never know. You hear of so many athletes who burn out in the mid-20s, and I think very feasibly that could have been me if I had kept the running going.
At what point, Paul? So I'm looking at a timeline here. 2004 is when you had the Commonwealth Youth Games. By 2010 and stuff, you've graduated from college?
Yes.
So you're going to a very busy career and like long hours, doctor and all the rest, medicine. I can only imagine myself now, could never actually properly know that. But how did you go from going from that level to going, right, marathon training is my path now to the Olympics, and I want to get to the Olympics through marathon running instead of shorter distances?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because like pretty much even after I competed in the Olympics for the marathon, I still said I wasn't a marathon runner, and I said, "Oh, I'm not a marathon runner." Like it's so when I first kind of wanted to give the running a proper go, and it's pretty much halfway through 2010. Start of 2011 with the London Olympics coming up. It was I think I can make the London Olympics, and at that stage it was all about the 5k, and it definitely wasn't anything half marathon related, and so it was all 5k based, and it kind of feels if I probably would have qualified for it. I was on track for it up until pretty much January February time of 2012. I kind of got the group over in London. I'd gone over as training with Andy Hobdo at that stage, and everything was going smoothly. And then I kind of seem to have quite a lot of bad luck in runs. I know sometimes it's bad training, but I think I do have had quite a lot of bad luck in running. But at that stage, I literally ran around the corner the wrong way. There was a pram there. I'm pushing a pram. I kind of swerved to get out of the way, and something happened to my knee, and pretty much was in pain thereafter, and kind of needed surgery on the knee. Kind of needed a surgeon to go in and kind of clean it out. I had what's known as a plica, which is kind of scar tissue in the middle of the knee. And at that stage, he was like, it's 50-50 whether he'll get back running again, never mind running seriously or top level. And this is before I'd even pretty much done any world championships or any Olympics. This is at the very start, I'd say, of the career. So that was a gamble, because it cost a lot of money. You weren't getting any sponsorship back then or anything. But it was a sort of thing, it's like, well, listen, I'm still young, I want to give this a go. So kind of asked around, got the parents' help as well. And thankfully the surgeon was very good and kind of did a good job and got back running. And But yeah, that was the start of 2012, and pretty much had about 3-4 months of literally not being able to bend the knee, and then got back up jogging, kind of building it up, and then I literally just with Andy was kind of more mileage, just getting fit, having base strength, and then the Dublin Marathon was in October of 2012, and Andy was like, "Listen, there's no other championships, fitness for 1500s or 5Ks. Just do the marathon, see what happens." And I was like, "All right, well, I'm in Belfast. It's not too far away from me. I'll do it." And I went there. It's funny, like people wouldn't believe how little I knew about the marathon. Whenever I did that first marathon, literally was going in, I had no expectation, nothing at all, and I didn't even see. I knew it was 26 miles, but didn't know it was much more than that. And kind of I went out for the run, and I didn't even know about pacing myself. All I remember is, right, I'm in shape. I'm going to give this a good go. And pretty much, I think there was a video somewhere I had about 100, 200 meter lead in the whole African bunch. And I remember passing the 10-mile mark, just going, where is everyone else? And then by the 13-mile mark, yeah, the whole Africans just passed me by. I was like, oh, okay, this is still actually a long way to go here. And but thankfully managed to hold on. I think around 2:16:30, I think it was. And I didn't even realize, like, it qualified me for the World Championships. I didn't realize until the next day that this was even a thing that that you could qualify for. And yeah, and pretty much since then, it was like, okay, well, I've got the qualifying time for the World Championships. Well, Athletics Ireland were kind of like, well, we're definitely not certain that we'll pick you, so maybe do another marathon. So it's like, okay, I'll do London, see if I went quicker, and kind of did London the next year, ran 2:17 dead or thereabouts. And yeah, that qualified me for the World Champs. And then it was kind of like, okay, once you've qualified for one championships, it seems to kind of snowball that you actually then get picked for the next championships once you're in that kind of ballpark of the time. And that's really where things just took off, kind of more by chance than anything else.
We as amateurs would rather do a marathon than an all-out effort 5K. You have obviously come from shorter, sharper, and through injury and everything and recovery, ended up obviously falling into the 26 miles. Were you happy with the transition? And then when obviously you're qualifying in, and you've just mentioned that you've now kind of you're in the ecosystem of marathon now, were you happy to be there and take on that new adventure? Well, obviously with hindsight being 2020, but if you can put yourself back in that mindset, how are you with the transition into the longer?
Yeah, I would say I would still have considered myself a 5K runner for a long, long time. And that was always the hope, I think. I always had two dreams in athletics. One was to break the 4-minute mile. One was to make the Olympics. And in my head, 4-minute mile was kind of priority for a long time. And yeah, so in my head, even after the 2016 Olympics, I was still, okay, Andy, when are we going back and actually doing the fast stuff? And of course, the injuries rack up, and you kind of, time just disappears, and you just, never get the chance to do it. Which in my head, so if looking at the PBs on paper, my short PBs are nowhere near what I think my potential was, and I'll never know exactly how fast I could have gone if I kept training instead of doing medicine, or if I'd kind of focused on that rather than qualifying for the World Champs in that first marathon. I think my career and life could have been very different.
Paul, there is an insane amount to get through. We haven't the hope of getting through all of it. I definitely, obviously, want to go through the Olympics. I want to go back to Dublin just one more time. The 5K runner rocks up to the marathon, doesn't know about distances, doesn't know about pacing, doesn't know about nothing, knows the 5K runner, wants to get back to 5K stuff. Where did you even line up in this marathon? Like, and did you just... You obviously just took off then. Like, it literally sounds like the Tommy Tiernan skit here where you just took off. The only difference is after 3 miles, you didn't jump to the ditch. You just kept going for another 23.2. Like, what was your mindset at the very start of this race? Like, where did you actually physically line up here?
Yeah, I was definitely on the first line. Like it's a race in my head. If you're racing, you're on the front. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, and I just never thought too much about it. It was just, well, you're racing, why wouldn't you in the front? And it was just, okay, we're away, let's go. But yeah, I like looking back when I was a proper junior athlete, like I always used to do crazy stuff. And pacing so there were a lot of 5K races on the road, especially back then, that I would have gone out in the first K, would have absolutely killed myself, and then the last 4K. Normally, I would have vomited at some stage through the race and then just kind of drag yourself home. And it took me a long, long time until you realize that that's not the best way to actually race, and that's not the best way to do things. But equally, I think you do have to have a bit of that craziness, especially at the start of your career, to kind of have not that fear of kind of blowing up, but at least that kind of expectation that, okay, I'm going to push myself harder and try and see if I can reach my limit. And I think that definitely stood me in good stead then whenever I kind of did realize actually there is a better way to race and kind of more sensible approach to things.
Are your muscles tight, tired and sore after training? Or maybe you're trying to get ready for your next run?
Make these ultra pure hero recovery products a regular part of your routine.
2 must-haves for active lives.
First, we have the Wintergreen Heat Rub Cream, perfect for warming up before your workout.
And then we have the Epsom salts gel with arnica, ideal for soothing and support after exercise.
A simple, natural way to care for your muscles both before and after your activity.
Proudly guaranteed Irish and made in County Mayo by an award-winning family business, Ultra Pure means quality you can feel and trust.
Shop these ultra pure favourites online today at ultrapurelabs.ie. Grab yours now and give your muscles the care they deserved. Also, a fantastic stocking fillers for all your runners. By listening to this advert, you are both supporting Irish businesses and this podcast. Now let's get back to the episode. Is it nice to know, again, Paul, I referenced the maximum effort 5K you've just mentioned, redlining, getting sick. Is it nice to learn those limits and be comfortable with them, to know where you are, particularly when it comes to racing? Because we can all go for a run together. Well, we probably can't run with you, Paul, but we can all go for a run together and understand if this is easy, this is hard, I'm holding some of the tank. But when you're racing, the strategy element, and is that a benefit, having pushed so hard at the shorter distance when you go longer? Or even are you still thinking after 13 miles, I don't know how much I have in the tank, or was that a big change?
So it's a very different feel, I'd say. Anyone who's raced a 5K knows it's a very different feel and mindset and different sort of pain to what you get in a half marathon or marathon. So it's good to know that you have that top end there, but it's not necessary to run well in a half marathon or marathon. Whereas for me anyway, it was always kind of, I enjoyed the 5K. I kind of got more of a buzz on that pain, where you're kind of inducing the lactate, inducing the vomiting, whereas kind of in a half marathon, you're just getting slow on the roads. Like you never go into that zone where actually I'm going to blow up. Like you blow up, but it's not to the level. It's very different style of blowing up, and that you just slow down, you end up walking. Whereas in kind of the 5K, you can definitely blow up to the point of, okay, I might not finish here at all, even though it's another K to go or whatever. It's definitely a struggle, I'd say. But that's kind of the buzz, and kind of that is what I enjoy the most. And still do those sessions where you kind of are inducing the lactate and kind of pushing that kind of red line as it is. I enjoy that much more than going out for a long kind of hard Sunday run, even though I'm probably better at the long Sunday runs than what I would be now over the faster stuff.
When you look forward to that World Championship and you've now qualified on 2 circuits, you've done Dublin, you've done London, and now you're looking at a World Championships. You've come from study, you still mentioned a couple of questions of what could have been. Was this now a rekindling to go, I'm a runner again? I know you always wanted to go back to the sharper stuff, but qualifying for a World Championships, did it mean a good bit to you? Was it a nice trajectory again to go, I am a runner again, I can still do it?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really think too much about it. I think sometimes now, looking back, it's very funny to kind of say what was my mindset, because at the time it was literally just okay, well, I've done this marathon and it qualified me for this, so I'm just going to do this next, because why wouldn't you?
Go do that one.
Someone said you can. and it's a trip to Moscow, which actually was very memorable, and kind of, again, in hindsight, when else do you get a 2-week stay in Moscow? And you always get staying in 5-star fancy hotels at these kind of things. So it was some experience. All the trips are very memorable, but Yeah, I think for me that was the first one where you kind of go, okay, well, the World Champs actually is a big deal, and this you see him Bolt sitting in the corner eating his chicken nuggets, and you're kind of like, okay, this is a big deal. This isn't just like another race. And stuff. So yeah, I think at the time my mindset was okay. I'm here. I want to run well, and then I want to push off from this and see what I can do in the next race. Because I knew at the time going into it, I wasn't as fit as what I probably could have been. Although, ironically, in hindsight, it's probably one of my best performances on paper.
So after the World Championships then, did you know after that race, when you're happy with your performance, that you had qualified for Rio? Or how does that qualification work?
No, so this is back in, so the World Champs are still in August 2013. So Rio was still a good while away at this stage. So no, so I came off that thinking, so I finished 21st in that August 2013 World Champs. And I remember thinking, geez, that's actually quite good. 21st in the world. I remember kind of running around Teddington, which is where I was based at the time, and your mindset just changed. Just thinking, okay, well, there's only 20 people in this whole world who can beat me. So anyone who's running past me, yeah, okay, well, you look like a good runner, but yeah, there's only 20 people, and I don't think you're one of the 20. So your mindset completely changed, even though that's not true, and like it's only 3 per country, and there's a lot of other distances. But in your mindset, that's what you're telling yourself. And I remember coming off it on such a high, and that kind of kept me going for not even months, years after it, thinking on my day, I know that there's only 20 people there who can beat me. But I came off that, and then kind of the World Half Marathon Championships were the next thing in 2014, and that was kind of the next goal. And I went to Copenhagen, still kind of I was still very fit. I hadn't got injured, which was, in hindsight, was a rare thing for me. And then 2014, I ran my PB over the half, which was 62:10, which at that time was one of the best European runners. It's very different these days, but at that stage was kind of a good time. And again, it was the sort of thing, I finished the race, and it was one of those perfect days where you cross the finish line and go, is that it? Oh, okay, I could keep going here for another 3 miles. And it was, but sometimes it's funny how that happens, and it's happened in the marathon as well sometimes, where you finish the line and you're like, actually, I feel good here. And that's when you know you've had a good race, because you probably are on your limit, but it just feels as if you could keep going. But yeah, so I came off that again. I think I finished 32nd or 34th in the World Half, and it came off again going, okay, I've had 2 good World Championship performances here. I had the chance. There's a big Australian group under Nick Badeau, who's one of the Sonia Sullivan's husband, and he had a group of the top Australian guys, and he was going over to a place called Mount Laguna at altitude over in San Francisco, and he said, do you want to come along? So I said, yeah, I'd love to. I had a chat with Andy, and he's like, the training over there is going to be better than what you're doing in London, so go for it. And I went over and was there, I think, probably about 5-6 weeks, and absolutely loved the training. But pretty much in the last week, I was racing Stanford 10K, which is one of the big 10K races over in America. And week before I started getting a pain in my ankle and didn't really think about it. Did the 10K race and then got back home, and the 10K race had qualified me for the Commonwealth Games. So it was my first ever 10K on the track at Stanford, and then the Commonwealths were going to be my second 10K. And pretty much the ankle just didn't get better. I remember the Commonwealth Games, again, was quite a disappointment. In hindsight, it was a really good experience, but the actual race itself was a disappointment. The ankle was so bad I couldn't warm up. I pretty much jogged around a lap of the warm-up track, and then it's like, that's all I can do. And I remember standing on the start line, and kind of you waved to the crowd, which was a fantastic experience. And then I remember just getting going, and it's like, this is just in pain from pretty much the first 100 meters. But I got rounded in about 29:13, which again is probably a fantastic run given that I couldn't walk pretty much. And I remember just walking off the track, and that was me done. And the European Championship Marathon was supposed to be bounced off that Commonwealth, the European Championship Marathon, a month later. And I just couldn't. I had to go to the physio, get the MRI of the ankle, and it showed that I had a stress fracture pretty much, and a stress fracture of the foot, and then it turned into labral tear because I'd been running through it in the hip. and essentially that was my first real injury, I'd say, as a proper runner. Yeah, pretty much had to take a prolonged break from that, and then that's kind of, since then I haven't really had a 6 month good prolonged just injury free period of time. And that's been pretty much 10 years ago. So I'm still hopeful that in my head, if I ever get a kind of a consistent injury-free period, that I can actually improve on where I've been. But just getting older now, so who knows? But fingers crossed.
When you say, God, where do you go from there? When you say the training...
Sorry, I think I forgot this question even.
I'm going to jump a little bit on this one. The training with the elites and stuff I want to talk about there. When you say that the training is just a different level, is it just your game being raised? Because we're going to jump a little bit ahead in this one with this as well. Over in America, you're with the NN running team. And when you see the NN running team being found in 2017 out in Amsterdam, pretty big names in that marathon list. Probably the biggest marathon name of all is probably in that list. Training with these people, for those who don't know, Ilya Kochobe was in that original 2017 along with you. What is that experience like with these bunch of people doing that kind of training at that level?
So that was probably one of the best probably moments of my career, to be honest. To be asked to be part of that NN running, and it was kind of more by chance than anything else that my agent was part of Global, who were the ones setting up the NN running team, and I wasn't contracted, didn't have any sponsorship at the time, and he had said to me on the phone, listen, we're setting this up, do you want to be part of it? And to be honest, when someone says you want to be part of a group with Eliud Kipchoge and all these other top runners, it's very, very hard to say no to. So had a chat with
never
Andy.
say no to a free holiday either, Paul.
Definitely not. Yeah, but so it kind of, Andy said, yeah, work away, go for it. And all I remember is that, especially at that start, the first meeting in 2017 when it was set up, we're all sitting in literally a room no bigger than a bedroom full of about 20, 30 athletes. And I think I was pretty much the only white guy there at the time. But everyone else was a who's who of running. That's when in my head I was like, geez, okay, this is the top level. There is no other level above this. And for me, it was a fantastic experience and fantastic feeling being part of that. At that stage, I was just getting back from injury, so they'd asked me to pace the Amsterdam, I think it was Amsterdam or Rotterdam maybe marathon. So I paced that for some of the elite guys, and just even wearing the vest, you got that tingling, that pins and needles feeling going, okay, that this is something special here, which is going on. And again, in hindsight, looking back, I'm just disappointed I couldn't make more of it just because of injuries. But it opened up so many doors for me in terms of running and kind of what races to do. And I'm extremely proud that I was even asked and thought about to be part of that group. It was a great feeling.
When it comes to training with that group, Paul, was it a set that you were together on camps? What was involved from your end with this club?
Yeah, it was less training together. It was more meeting up at competitions. Amazing. Kind of thing, and more connections rather than an actual training. Simply because we were all based at that stage. We were all based all over the place. Now they've set it up in Uganda is primarily their big group, but at that stage it wasn't set up then. So it was kind of more connections, more so that you're all part of something, and kind of we knew each other, but it wasn't a training every day kind of thing, because we all had our own groups, and I was very happy with my group in London, and it was working for me. So I definitely wasn't going to jump ship to other training groups. But again, it's funny, like it's Africans are a bit different, but most Europeans, Americans, Australians would kind of do similar training, especially in that base phase where it's kind of just about getting fit and kind of getting strong, and it's not really, there's no great kind of magic behind it. It's literally just getting it done, and that's not getting the miles done. Like I've very rarely done over 100-mile weeks. I would say 80 miles is kind of bread and butter for me whenever I was training properly. Whereas nowadays there's a whole, if you believe everything you read, everyone's doing the more miles the better kind of thing. And if you aren't doing 100-mile weeks, there's not a chance that you can run fast or run even steady, which is a complete myth. And it's probably one of the biggest things that people who aren't running fast think that they need to do. Like anyone, if I kind of coach some people now, and if anyone starts me, it's amazing how in their head they think if they aren't doing 100-mile weeks, they aren't going to improve, they're not going to run better. And you kind of strip it right back, and you'll be amazed at how well they improve. And it's kind of just doing that simple things right. And miles isn't everything, which like it's not rocket science, but it's got that stage where so many people think that they need to just run as many miles as possible, which in fairness, some African groups do, but their training is very, very different to what most Europeans can handle.
Jumping on the coaching part there of that, Paul, a phrase I haven't heard for a long time would be junk miles. That they're, so you do hear, and we've heard about 100-mile weeks and stuff like that, and hearing you say 80, I'm like, just 80, and there's something I want to get into the second, what you did in your training for Valencia, but just sticking with this, with the 80 miles a week, what percentage of that you hear like 80-20, easy run to hard runs, that kind of thing, intervals, doubles kind of thing? What would an 80 mile week roughly look like for you? Or would you recommend to people?
So again, it kind of all boils down to what part of your training phase are you actually doing, kind of thing. Like, are we talking about the 8 weeks in the lead up to the marathon? Are we talking about the 4 weeks before that? Are we talking about the 6 or 10 weeks before that, really? Because it's all very different. I think you always have to come back to the why. Why are you doing what you're doing in training? And if you can't answer that, then you're just kind of making it up and kind of just guessing, and you're not going to improve or get to your best. So I would always say, why are you doing so many miles? Why are you going out to do that really long run? Why are you going out twice a day if your body can't handle once a day and you aren't hitting the pace for once a day? So I would say anyone who's kind of trying to set up their own plan or kind of work out what works best for them, always just strip it back and come back to the why am I doing this and why do I think this is the best approach? Because more miles doesn't equal faster, and never has and never will. It might work for some people, but those people tend to have a lot of years of running behind them, and even then I'd still argue that it's probably not the most optimal approach. But again, if you can't answer why you're doing it, then you're kind of just you kind of need to go away and read a book and kind of work out why exactly you want to do it and how you're going to base your plan.
A quote off an Instagram, one of your Instagram posts was a picture of you in your garage on your bike. I was like, off minimal running and a lot of high intensity cycling. You went on that post to talk about how you got your marathon PB at 2 hours 10 minutes in Valencia in 2019. Paul, off a lot of cycling indoors in a garage to a marathon PB, how does, we talked before, a cycle might have a bit and heart rates and all, like how does someone, what do you mean by intense cycling? Are we talking about hard can't burst for hours on end, or what are we doing here to get at two? I'm not saying anyone listening to this will get 2:10 marathon, but there's obviously some correlation here.
Yeah, well, the first thing is I've got 3 kids under the age of 6, so as much as I sometimes would like hours in the garage, it definitely isn't feasible, I would say. So, but going back to pre-Valencia, that's kind of, I was more enforced cycling, I would say, at that stage. So I was targeting Berlin, which was the end of August, and I was ridiculously fit, and I remember it was about 2 days before 10 miler, and I think I was aiming for something which would have been, I can't even remember what the exact time was, but it was probably one of the top fastest 10 milers ever in Europe, kind of thing. In my head, that's what the goal was. I was ridiculously fit. And then pretty much the Thursday before the race, I started feeling I know I've had enough stress fractures now that I know what the pain is, and I felt the pain in my foot, and we decided actually this is going to be too much of a risk with Berlin 3-4 weeks later. So I didn't race the 10 miler, and then got the scan and showed that yes, there was stress fracture there. So it was then okay, what do we do now? I'm ridiculously fit, but I can't race. And we said, okay, let's go for Valencia, which is pretty much 2-3 months after Berlin, and we kind of said, okay, how are we going to go about this? And it literally was let's just cut out any runs that aren't intensity kind of runs, as in if they aren't quality. There's no point doing them. My body will just break down, and instead let's go on the bike. And so at that stage, I was kind of doing double double days on the bike, and this was the first. I'm not a big cyclist. I've never cycled outside pretty much, and this is the first time I've ever pretty much cross trained on the bike, and so I pretty much was doing double days. But when I say double days, it was I've never cycled more than an hour and a half max, at the very max, and that was rare on a bike. Normally be 45 to 50 minutes. I'd say, but 40. If it was a 50-minute cycle, 45 minutes of that would pretty much be with high heart rate, pretty much as much as I can. Pretty much, I get up to that as early as possible, and then just try to hold. And it's the sort of thing, we've started out even 30, 35 minutes for the first week, 2 weeks, of that kind of high intensity, because you just have to build it up. It's 20 minutes. 20 minutes would have been like the initial one of literally, like, you'd be falling off the bike after the 20 minutes. And it's very hard to, I don't know. I don't know cyclists, that many cyclists, but in my head, I don't think many people would push themselves as hard as what I was doing on the bike and what I am doing on the bike at the minute, just because it's so painful. Not pain, but pain's not the right word. I think it's partly mentally kind of, you just go to that zone where, okay, I need to hold this, and it's a hold, and you just keep telling yourself to hold it for the whole 20 minutes, which is very difficult. And then 25 minutes in the next one, 30 minutes in the next one, you build it up. So it was all very high intensity rather than duration, and that kind of got me through to Valencia. And it was then I'm very lucky that I could do a very, very hard cycle now, and tomorrow I could session completely fine running. It had no impact at all on the running, and still does. It just doesn't impact at all. So it must be very different muscles that I'm using, or just different systems that it's hitting, but it doesn't seem to impact my running in any way. So I kind of just wish I'd found it out 8 years previously that I could have done that. But yes, but it worked for Valencia, and it's kind of like, okay, right. So it worked for Valencia. I probably wouldn't have done so little miles if I was to do it again. But now I'm kind of like, okay, there's definitely scope for something worked for Valencia that hadn't worked before. And that's kind of what I'm trying to replicate this time. So I ruptured my Achilles towards the end of 2023, in December 23, and pretty much had about 14 months of absolutely no running at all. Couldn't walk a step. Was in a boot for about 6 months of it, and had surgery on the Achilles, and then just a lot of rehab. So I only started back running about a couple of months ago now. But it's back running is you manage to do like 400 meters of a run, and then that's you for 2 days, and then the next day you might do 400 again, and then 2 days later you might do 600 meters. So it's a very, very slow build up. Anyone who's had Achilles issues know that it's a very, very long and slow and boring rehab process. But yeah, pretty much a month ago, 6 weeks ago, kind of got to a stage where I'd say I'm now more training rather than I'm injured. And now it's a balance between the cycling and running, and I'm actively not running as much and trying to supplement that with the cycling. And I'm doing very similar to what I was doing back pre-Valencia. Like I'm in that building phase where I'm kind of trying to get the 10K strength. So I'm not doing double set. I'm only doing one cycle a day, but I'm pretty much up to about 45, 50 minutes now. And again, about 40 minutes, it'd be a 5-minute warm up, and then just 40 minutes or all out effort until the finish. And that seems to work for me. And to be honest, I'm feeling extremely fit, and I'm running every other day at the minute. And I'm not going to change that. I think the body needs, at this age I am and the kind of amount of injuries I've had, every run I'm doing now, I'm feeling as if I'm fresh for it. I'm feeling as if I'm ready to go. And it's a really nice feeling doing that, and seeing the improvement. And then I supplement that with the cycling. So kind of, as things progress, I'm not sure where I'll get to with this, but I'll probably try and add in double day cycling, and then even with the runs in the morning, and then cycle in the evening as well eventually. But I've been searching forever to see if there's any guidelines or any programs that have been done like this before, and there's no real evidence there, and no one else has really tried it. So it's going to be a lot of trial and error, and just kind of what I think works, and kind of what I think works for me, and whether or not that works for other people, who knows? But I want to see if it works for me first of all. So I'm kind of excited. It's a new way of training for myself, even, and after 10 years of kind of running in the sport, to have something new, it's kind of just gives me a bit of a buzz as well. So hopefully it works, but we'll see.
Paul, we somehow got to present day and glossed over the fact that you had a 2:16 marathon in Rio in the Olympics in 2016, and you were back in the Olympics in 2021 for Tokyo. And you had a very, everyone obviously had a unique time in Tokyo with the pandemic, but you were also on both sides, as you were working in a hospital leading up to Tokyo and then doing it. I can't just end up go talk with your coaches and stuff without getting into the fact you're a double Olympian. Like, so talk to us a little bit about the difference between was going from Rio and the crowds and all the rest, and then getting to Tokyo and going through what, like, you've seen the pandemic up front hand. Like, me and Eric were talking over Zooms and stuff, being locked in and stuff like that, whereas you were actually in hospitals and everything else, leading Tokyo, no crowds, and assume no family like that. And then 5 years ago, you were in Rio, crowds, first Irishman home. Was there, I don't want to say a letdown going back to Tokyo, but was there a different atmosphere shift going into that one?
Yeah, so like the marathon's a lot of mental. Like it's I know it's physical as well, but you need to have that mental side of things sorted for the marathon. And 2016, so there's always that there's a selection dilemma. There was 4 of us had finished the Berlin Marathon within 40 seconds of each other, and only the top 3 would get picked. So there's always going to be one of the 4 of us left out. And there was a guy, Sergio Ciobanu, who was the one who was left out of the 4. And I was the 4th slowest. So I was the slowest of the 4 in Berlin. I was just coming back from injury, is my excuse, which I was. But I'd then gone on to the world half and finished 14th in the world half as the second European behind Mo Farah, and had convincingly beat every other Irish athlete. So I was in good form, and thankfully the Irish athletics picked me over Sergei. But Jerry Kiernan, there's a lot of publicity on Sergei's side. So I definitely had had that feeling going into Rio that I can't blow up here. I can't afford to have a bad run. So I think I played it safe more than anything else in Rio. And in my height, I remember finishing the race thinking, okay, happy days. I might have proved myself to all those people. But deep down, there was definitely I didn't have the run that I wanted, or go out the way I wanted. I played it safe rather than actually running to try and run my best. And that took a lot of time to get over myself mentally, that this, in my head, I thought I'd had the one chance at the Olympics, and I'd messed it up by kind of not running the time that I wanted, or not having the race that I wanted to, and running at the tactics that I wanted to. So that was disappointing. That kind of spurred me on quite a bit. And then I ran the 2:10 in Valencia prior, and that's what qualified me for Tokyo. And again, I was in fantastic shape in early 2020, just before the pandemic hit, and then I got injured during the pandemic. And we pretty much had to take a back seat to the running while everything else was going on. But thankfully, the injuries kind of healed up, and I got back into good shape. And to be honest, going into Tokyo was in the best shape of my life. Is definitely standing on the start line the fittest I've ever been on the day of a marathon. Funnily, it was the worst marathon I've ever done by a long way, in terms of where I finished and kind of the time that I've done. But it was definitely tough, Tokyo. You were you're pretty much isolated out there. You had the other Irish team members, some of the coaching support, but that was it. And you're kind of on the other side of the world. And yeah, it was definitely tougher than what I thought it would be. Like, they always, like, mentally, I'm quite strong and kind of don't really get homesick or anything like that. But that was the one time where I'd say actually I felt that being away from home was it was a long time away, and you didn't really see anyone else. And it was all it felt like you were in competition mode for a very long time out there. Like, we were in Japan for about 4 or 5 weeks, I think, in total, with the holding camp, which in any other time would be fantastic. You'd get to see Japan, but this was literally just staying in a hotel, really, for 4 or 5 weeks, which is tough. And I remember, and so you were kind of running to kind of fill the time pretty much. I was cycling at the time as well. and you're kind of doomed. And so I think in hindsight, I probably did too much just because there was nothing else to do. Because I remember waking up the start day of the race going, listen, I'm tired here. I remember having a chat with the coach going, I just feel tired, but I was ridiculously fit. And I got through the marathon, and I was very proud of what I did and proud that I finished when a lot of other people didn't. But it was definitely one of those moments that's like, if I had managed to hit that one right, there was an opportunity there to actually run very fast and kind of place very, very high. But it didn't happen. But yeah, it is another great experience. That's the thing with the marathon. Everyone is extremely different, and everyone gives you memories and experience that will last you a lifetime. So yeah, so it's definitely looking forward, hopefully getting back to another marathon at some stage, but it'll be a slow build up and still be another 12 months away at least, I'd say.
In the meantime, you are coaching a lot now. There's as a recording, we're leaning towards Dublin Marathon this weekend, the Dream Run Dublin project. You've done that for the last couple of years. There's a quote here you have on your website. As a professional athlete for so many years, I have learned firsthand that there is no single correct approach in training for distances. You kind of touched on it there earlier with the 100 miles and people doing that 100 miles plus and stuff. And there's a lot of, it's kind of the same messaging. Is there kind of stuff on social media where you see with people's training, you go, this is definitely the wrong thing being put out there at the moment, that it is a lot more individual?
That's definitely a leading question, but yes, like you read so much stuff, and some of it you do, okay, that's an interesting point. Whereas a lot of it, you're just like, come on, that's who are you writing this for? Like,
Paul, we need examples, Paul.
Name them, Paul.
Definitely not. But it amazes me really that anytime I start coaching someone just individually, and they're like, okay, well, what have you been doing? What's normal for you, kind of thing, or what have you got planned this week before we start the coaching itself? And the things they come out with is just it's just very confusing where they're coming from, and it's probably a lack of, I don't know if it's a lack of knowledge or just this is just what other people have done, so this is what I'm doing. But it's amazing and these, again, it's probably, it comes down to clubs, whereas it's very difficult to set a plan to cover a whole group of athletes of different abilities. And that's what clubs are trying to do, which again, it's great in some areas, but in terms of marathon running, it just doesn't work sometimes. And I think the big thing that most runners, club runners anyway, in Ireland, UK, I think the big thing they lack is that kind of strength. I call it the 10K base fitness, really. And people sit there and think, oh no, I've got that. It's fine. I'm going to start the 12-week, 16-week marathon build-up just off my 10K base strength. It's fine. And then you actually get into it and you're just like, you're nowhere near that's where you're going to make your improvements, by building that 10K base strength. And then the marathon specific training is literally just icing on the cake. It's all that stuff before it. And that's kind of where you need to focus, and kind of, that's where a lot of people think it's the marathon stuff. Okay, but before the marathon stuff, I'll enjoy myself, party, don't need to do anything. And then, okay, we're into the marathon training block now. I'll cut out all the junk food, I'll cut out the alcohol and focus. And by that stage, it's too late. It's the stuff before you start the marathon training. And that's the big thing that I've seen, especially with the Dream Run project, which is, anyone who doesn't know, I kind of get 10 people who haven't broken 3 hours before in the Dublin Marathon. And I start coaching them at pretty much 24, 25 weeks before the marathon, so at the start of May. And we pretty much see how to get them to break 3 hours in the Dublin Marathon is the goal. And it's amazing. Pretty much most of them would run a 10K PB. We kind of target 10K PB middle of June and then middle of July. And throughout the project, I'd say pretty much well over 90%, 95% of people who've done it have run a 10K PB, just because that's what they're lacking. And that's kind of where you'll see the big improvement come to the marathon. Because if you're in shape to run much faster over 10K, whenever you turn to the longer stuff, it's going to be so much easier, and the body's strong enough to hold up to the training. Whereas if you're coming in thinking you're strong, but you definitely aren't, and you're trying to do these 20-mile long runs on it, you're just going to break down, or you won't have the base fitness there. So I would always say to people who are targeting a marathon, you want to give yourself as long as possible, and it's the first month, 2-3 months that's when you're going to make the progress, and that's when you're actually going to determine what you're going to run in the marathon in itself. In race day, it's those first months which are the crucial ones. So yeah, that's what I would say to anyone. Come back to the why. Why am I doing this? And it's, if you're looking and thinking that marathon training is all about the long runs and the marathon runs, then you've kind of missed the point. You kind of need to take a step back further again and say, actually, I want to just get fit and get strong first of all, and then start looking towards the marathon.
Going back to 24 weeks, I know it's individual. For that 10K base, is that mean like your long runs probably near 10 miles and then a lot more harder sessions, or is it just more consistently out there for easier runs of building up from there?
Yeah, so I've kind of picked the 3 hour marathon because that's kind of the just a kind of a benchmark anyway. So I normally, for pretty much anyone to start coaching, I would say you need at least 2 rest days a week. So I kind of strip it right back to the way I like to do it is Monday and Fridays are your rest days. And fair enough, if people are good enough and talented enough, then we can add in more runs as we go on. But in my experience, most people need 2 rest days a week because just in terms of recovery. And then the Tuesday session, so it's all about, for me at that stage, would be the Tuesday sessions. And you kind of, it doesn't have to be rocket science. Again, you're looking kind of 8K intensity, kind of broken down into various reps, but you kind of 8K worth of intensity. Wednesday would just be an easy 30-minute kind of 5-mile run or whatever. And then Thursdays, I like to get tempo runs done, and I get up to 6-mile tempos, build it up to that, and then don't progress beyond that, and then kind of bring down the pace as they get fitter. Fridays would be a rest day. Saturdays, again, just an easy run. And then Sundays tend to be 13 miles, and we don't go longer than 13 miles, but it tends to be more intense than what most people would be doing. So again, you would kind of, obviously not in the first few weeks, you would build them up to this. But again, you would kind of want to be hitting, if you're a 3-hour runner, I kind of want or aiming for 3 hours, you'd want to be hitting 13 and 90 every week in that 10K base fitness. That's 13 at 6:50, 13 at 7-minute miling, in and around that pace. And for the Thursday sessions, especially at that initial phase, you'd kind of want to be doing the 6-mile tempos in around 6:30, 6:35 as starting, and then kind of work it down to 6:20, 6:25 by marathon time. That's kind of what you're looking for and aiming for in terms of training for the marathon. But at that initial phase, it's all about literally just getting into the routine of the intensity of the weeks and getting the Tuesday sessions done. And the main focus would be the Tuesday sessions. And it's not about smashing the sessions. It's literally, again, just about hitting the paces that I've set them and really just hitting the times. And for me, the best runners aren't the ones who go out to try and beat the times that I'm setting. The ones who improve the most are the ones who literally just hit the times that I've set and don't try to smash it. And if you're doing that week in, week out, day after day, 3 hard runs a week, you're going to get fitter and faster and get that start line in a good place. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to the Dublin Marathon this year and seeing how they all get on. 2 of them got injured pretty much in the first week or 2. I think they'd been carrying needles before they came into it, and they just flared up. The other 8, they've all given themselves a very good chance of breaking the 3 hours, but the marathon's, it's always one of those things, you just don't know what's going to happen on the day. But we'll see how they get on.
I am definitely going to listen back to that, and also have my kilometre and mile converter there to listen back to as well.
I do work between both of them quite quickly.
But apart from the Dublin run, apart from that, the dream run, you also do individual coaching on your website. Is that right? So people listening could get coaching through you. How does that work?
Yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch, just my website's ppmarathon.com, or just simply email coaching@ppmarathon.com, and we'll have a chat and see what they're aiming for. Like, I am limited in spaces, just simply time. It just takes time to coach people, and I kind of, if I'm doing something, I want to do it properly, pretty much. So I do limit how many I take on, because I know when I was couple of years ago when I was first doing it, I would have said yes to everyone, and then it just gets to the stage it's just too difficult because you're mixing people up. And if I'm coaching someone, I kind of want to know without having to look up what the goals are, what their fitness is, what they are. You kind of become essentially friends with the people. Whereas if you take on too many, you just lose that, and then it takes up too much time, and you kind of lose the focus and kind of the enjoyment essentially of it. So yeah, but if even anyone looking for any advice, simply just get in touch. Let me know. I'm always happy to answer or point you in the right direction if needs be. And and we'll see.
Brilliant. Paul, absolutely fantastic listening to you for the past hour. Your knowledge, I can't believe the amount of stuff I knew we wouldn't get through all of it or anywhere close to all of it, but the amount you've done, you've covered. Best of luck getting that Achilles back to 100%, and hopefully you'll be back doing marathons again, and maybe puking while doing 5Ks, because for some reason you enjoy doing that more. With that said, that's this week's episode of the Any Given Monday podcast from myself, Paul, and Eric. Take care.
Many thanks.